Kelvin, through the years, we've talked this time of year about conference tournaments, and curious if your thoughts have changed or what your thoughts are on it for teams that their postseason NCAA uh, seeding, so to speak, have been decided or been very well documented. Is there value outside of conference tournament championship, or do you feel like the formatting should change on conference tournaments?
Doesn't matter what I think. It's good for the conference. It's a moneymaker. There's still a lot of people that don't know that the NCAA and conferences make no money off football. The only moneymaker they have is men's basketball. NCAA tournament, their entire budget is controlled by men's basketball. The conference, they look at all their revenue streams. We're fortunate that we have a brilliant commissioner in Brett Yormark, and he dives into private equity and sponsorships and name hit their version of that name, image, and likeness for the conference. But the conference tournament is a big money maker. It's in a great city, Kansas City. It's close to teams whose fan bases really support their schools. I'll never forget last year playing at Iowa State. Now, as far as we're concerned, the Iowa State game I got amused that people asked me about what would that loss do. The loss meant nothing for us as far as the next week. It's the ideal scenario for us last year would have been to play. I think we played Tech the first game, TCU the second game, and go home, and not even play the third game, just to go get. We had enough injuries as it was, and last thing we needed to do was play 3 games in 3 days with last year's team. But I think the great thing about that tournament, and I mentioned this at the time, for the 4 new schools, Houston, UCF, BYU, and Cincinnati, is seeing what that tournament was about, and seeing what the impact Iowa State and their fans had. Now, we played Missouri in the final. You'd have to check. I know we played Missouri in the semifinals in front of 16,000 at Kemper. Ever how many that place said it seemed like 16,000. We played Missouri there. We played Kansas there multiple times in front of 16,000. And then we played at the Sprint Center. That was the first time I played the tournament at the Sprint Center or coached in the tournament at the Sprint Center. Do you guys know what the seating is there? What is the capacity? Is it 17,000?
You talking about the current place?
Yeah.
I believe it's between 15 and 17.
Okay, let's say it was 17,000. Well, in that game, there was 16,900 Iowa State fans. It's a great game for Iowa State. And if Kansas had been in the finals, it would have been 16,900 Kansas fans. So, but you have to leave it there for that reason. It's part of the Big 12's culture. That tournament in Kansas City, people set up their entire this time of the year around that tournament. I think we were in the finals 5 straight times. We won 3 and lost 2. I remember the first time I was in the Big 12, and nothing's really changed. I remember losing to Iowa State, and we had a really good Oklahoma team. But they had Marcus Fizer, the number 4 pick in the draft. They had Jamal Tinsley, the number 27 pick in the draft. And then they had a bunch of other guys. Great coach, Larry Eustace. But that Iowa State fan base is unbelievable how they support that tournament. So now if you had it, it's kind of like when we played Arizona in San Antonio. Our fan base would not have taken a backseat to anybody. I was so proud of the Cougar fans when we played Arizona. Big reason we won. We would not have won that game without them. And then we went to Dallas last year. Obviously, we're in a position to maybe win that game before Jamal went down. But that would have been because that place was packed with Cougar fans. And just like when you go to Kansas City, it's going to be packed with Iowa State fans. It's going to be packed for Kansas fans. But that represents revenue for the Big 12 Conference. So don't ask coaches what they think about it. It's necessary. Those dollars matter in this day and age for these conferences. So my opinion of it is irrelevant. It's always going to be there, and it's a good thing for our conference. It brings great value to our conference. When people tune in and watch Iowa State play, regardless of who they're playing, or they watch Kansas play, they're going to see a packed arena. Now, when the other teams play, maybe not so much, but that's why you have it in Kansas City.
It's actually 18,000 seating.
Well, then there was 17,900 Iowa State fans for that game. I'm assuming we had around 100 or so, and they had 17,900. But that's plus they had a great team, so that was a. But I remember our game against TCU, sparse crowds, Texas Tech, sparse crowds. But when you get Iowa State and Kansas and those teams in that area, Kansas State, I'm sure, has a great fan base too. But if the tournament was down in Dallas, you'd see the Texas team's fans probably flipped. Although Iowa State fans travel to Dallas too, I remember seeing them there.